Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting in order for November 13th, 2023. We got everybody marked present? Yes? Is everybody in? There we go. You're in, Bill. Everybody's on.
Let's go on the sign-in page. Nope. All of us down here at this center. We're just in the sign-in page.
I got what he got.
There's 3 of us down here.
Okay, hit it again. Go ahead.
Nope.
It's the same thing. Regular roll call. No, it's the same. I have the same.
Hold on. What we got, Darcy? Okay, marked all here. Please join Councilmember Hampton in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, just thank you for today, Lord, and the ability to meet in a free country in a great city. I pray for wisdom as we make decisions that best reflect the best path for our citizens and the city. I pray that you will be with all of our first responders and our military here and abroad. Pray for Israel and that you will be done in that situation quickly. I also thank you for the city of Goodyear and be with the staff as they serve the citizens as well. Thank you for blessing us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of Goodyear. Are there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Patricia Miller.
Hello, Patricia. Council will listen to comments and may take any of the following. Respond to criticism, request the staff to investigate and report on the matter, request the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. You've got 3 minutes. You'll see when it's down to 20 seconds. Just recognize your name and whether you're just a resident of Goodyear, that's all.
My name is Patricia Miller, and I am a resident of Goodyear. I live in Palm Valley, Phase 1. The reason that I'm here this evening is something that is not unknown to all of you, as at the last city council meeting this was addressed. And this is the noise that we are experiencing over our community from the flight schools at Goodyear Airport. I work from home, and During my workday, just for example, last Thursday, between 7 a.m. and 10:30 a.m., there were 24 flights over my house. They are flying at a low altitude. I do not feel that they're safe, and it is very difficult for me to do my job when I'm hearing the planes. I'm on the phone with customers all day long. They can hear it in the background unless I'm putting a headset on, and it's difficult for me. I wear a hearing aid, so the headset just is a little bit more vibration for me. So I'm concerned about the noise, but I'm also concerned about the safety. These are inexperienced pilots that are flying over our homes at low altitudes, and I feel as though, aside from the safety factor, there's also the pollution factor. That is leaded gasoline that comes out of those planes. Now, my other concern is that after the last city council meeting, I did go onto the YouTube site, and I did see that there are going to be trainings for cargo planes for the military. Is that correct?
I believe that's already happened.
Well, it's already happening, but some of those planes have flown over our house 700 feet above our homes, and all of my neighbors can attest, we've stood outside and watched it happening, and why are they flying so low over our homes? I moved here in 2018. This was a quiet community. The only complaint that I had was that we could hear a lot of noise from Dysart, of course, the Hummer cars and all the motorcycles, or occasionally the sound from the freeway in the wintertime. It tends to be a little bit louder. I knew the airport was there, but we've never had to deal with this amount of sound. I hear Luke on occasion. They're good neighbors. They don't fly 7 days a week. They don't start flying at 6 in the morning, which I've heard them start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, they're doing their touch and goes over at that airport. So I want to know what the city council's stance is on this, if you're going to listen to your citizens about this, because when that school came into this, and we know there's one in particular, came into this area, or you allowed them to come to the airport, I'm not very well spoken, why it is that this was not put before the citizens of this community to vote to see these issues. That's it.
Justin? Where's Justin? Somebody want to talk to her? Anything else?
Yes, Mayor. James Gordon.
You heard the previous there, James. You just, your name and whether you're a resident, and then you got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my name is James Gordon. I am also a resident of Goodyear in Phase 1. I was here last month and spoke with you all about the noise over our homes. And so what I thought I'd do this time is come in and I had 2 presentations, but this ended up being a little longer and waiting for you. So I'm not doing presentation 1, which is full of facts and data and things. Just want to talk to you a little bit about what it is we're experiencing with the loud noise and the airplanes. And one of the things, my grandson, his name is Jeremiah, and he called me and said, "How'd it go last month, Grandpa, with talking to the city council?" I said, I don't know. I don't know whether they were doing crossword puzzles or whether or not, they really were listening to me. But he said, well, did they make any changes? I said, I don't know, Jeremiah, if they made a change at all. So he said, well, Grandpa, you told me if at first you don't succeed, try again. So I'm back. I'm back to try again to convince you, and I think I'm taking a different tack this time. So, Mr. Mayor, we've got a lot in common. I brought my hat. You also went to the University of Maryland, right? I got a couple of degrees there, and you did too. And guess what, Mr. Mayor? We are alike on another item. University of Phoenix. Got my graduate degree there for my last degree. And so we're just alike. Maybe I could be mayor too, right? But at least I want to talk to you and members of this council to say that we are all alike. We all live in this town, and we should all think about what this change has done to all of us in the town of Goodyear. And one of the things that's happened is that if you look at EPA, and they'll tell you about how much gasoline gets dumped on our town with 100% leaded fuel As you know, in California, another couple of years, they're going to have to reduce their leaded fuel. But we're getting the CO2 on top of us. Could give you a bunch of data on that. You also know we've got pilots who got the training wheels on, and they're making these loops, and sometimes they get 4 or 5 in the loop, and they got to come out over our house, and they got to come out over your homes. And these are training pilots. Now, I've been flying for 30 years, and I know you can run a tight little loop, but unless the controller can handle 4 or 5 in a circle at the same time, there are problems. And the other thing is the safety aspect of this. This year in 2023, so far, there have been 2,000 accidents. 1,220 are general aviation accidents, and 233 have resulted in fatalities. That ought to wake you up. That'll make you think about, what are we doing? Maybe we ought to look at this topic again and see if we've looked at all the data. And so what I'm proposing is that you do that. We set up a meeting, we've got all the data to show you, and we just think about this for an hour like you just did with the Parks and Recreation, and that we talk about this in a way in which there can be something that can happen. So thank you so much for listening to me, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Go Terps.
Go ahead and you let him know. I don't know if you're aware, the airport is owned by the city of Phoenix.
Yes.
We have been in contact with their.
We've been calling them, blowing up their phones, and so we get back the standard letter that says, go talk to the other guy, it's not our fault.
But just to let you know, would you kind of give them the information of what we've been doing? Oh, they're together? Okay.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much, folks,
Thank
for
you.
listening. Thank you.
We got anything else?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 1 through 7 by title only?
Number 1, approval of minutes. Number 2, number 2023-2360, establishing the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Supplemental Salary Deferral Plan, designating the city manager as the authorized agent, providing authorization, direction, and providing an effective date. Number 3, adopt resolution number 2023-2364, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, between the City of Goodyear and the State of Arizona Department of Revenue for the administration, collection, audit, and licensing of transaction privilege taxes, use taxes, severance taxes, jet fuel, excise, and use taxes, and rental occupancy taxes imposed by the state, cities, or towns. Number 4, approve a 90-day extension for approval of the final plat for Arroyo Ranch. Number 5, authorize the expenditure of funds for 8 months of fiscal year 2024 expenses for We Ride microtransit service. Number 6, approve and authorize the finance director to execute a consent to assignment of King Ranch agreements. Number 7, approve and authorize the city manager to execute termination release of 5 temporary drainage easements.
Thank you. Does anybody on the council wish to remove any item from the council agenda? Seeing none, will the council please enter a motion and a second to approve 1 through 7? We have, did you want to remove an item?
I had a question
Okay,
against
which
two
one?
items. Number 5, the authorization of expenditure of remaining expenses for We Ride.
Who's got that?
My question is, are we extending the service area, or are we just paying $1 million for the same service area? And it can be yes or no.
Here she comes. Give her a second.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Christine McMurdy, Engineering Project Management Coordinator. The action before you is to continue the existing service.
The way it is now.
Correct.
And not extend the
That is
service
correct.
area at all.
That's correct.
When will that come back before us?
The option for year 3 will be part of a supplemental in the budget for fiscal year 25.
So nothing until 2025.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
What's your second question?
And my second question is on the King Ranch agreement. Is it that we are just having them take over the CFD that's already in place? Or are we doing a new CFD?
That is having them take over the existing CFD. It's the exact same action that the board took prior to this.
Right, and it's the exact one that the King family and King Ranch had in place.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you so much. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I've got a motion and a second on there. Nothing else on there? Going to open up for voting?
Are you voting? Okay. Sorry.
Passes 7-0. Thank you. We have one public hearing on the agenda tonight. We'll hold a public hearing on the general plan of 2035 Growing Goodyear. Open the public hearing. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the public, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Steve Carecchia, Planning Manager. Happy to bring this item before you tonight. It's been a long journey, almost 2 years, and a lot of work by staff, the consultant, our stakeholders, and our citizens. On October 18th and 25th, the Planning and Zoning Commission, we had 2 public hearings. And at their last public hearing on the 25th, the Commission did recommend that Council adopt the plan before you tonight. And also part of that recommendation is adoption of the first resolution, which will adopt the general plan, and along with the second resolution, that'll be the call for the special election in May. Mayor, at this point, I'd like to just turn the presentation over to Matt Kleisico, our consultant. He'll just go over the update process and the next steps in the process.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's great to be back before you again to talk about the general plan. This is an exciting milestone, as Steve mentioned, in a long process. And so we just have a few slides to walk you through some of the highlights of the efforts that we went through and some of the content that is in the plan. And then certainly we would love to hear any questions or comments. So really it's just 3 key points that I'll be touching on. We're going to start with a little bit about the process and progress. So talk about how we got to the plan, and then of course share those highlights of the plan itself, and then turn it back over to you to clarify any of key areas you may be interested in. You've seen this graphic before. It's one we utilized throughout the outreach process. It's been a long journey. As Steve mentioned, we started back in January of 2022, kicking off this effort, and took the community through 3 primary phases that had multiple tasks associated with them, and deliverables along the way, right? In looking at the recognized phase, we're talking about existing conditions. The enrich phase, we're looking at actually drafting components of the plan, bringing that back to the public to have back and forth as we refine it. And now getting to our achieve phase, where we hope to adopt the plan and ultimately get it on that May 2024 ballot for ratification. But as I mentioned before in some of our prior work sessions, engagement, you can see intertwined throughout the process. And of course, that engagement is critical because that May 2024 voter ratification, we're going to ask the public if they support this plan. And so we absolutely made it a primary effort to reach out to residents and hear what they had to say. And so let's talk about that community outreach. It was robust. And I will talk about first highlighting a mention that Steve shared is our general plan committee. The committee was fantastic, and I appreciate staff, or council, I should say, in assisting us with identifying those 17 members. We met over 9 meetings, multiple hours of those meetings, totaled over 380 cumulative hours of volunteer effort, just in meeting alone, not the time that they dedicated of reviewing revisions and drafts. And so that group was tremendous in terms of being a sounding board for this effort. But of course, the key component of that is getting out to the public and hearing from them. And so we tried to complement that general plan committee with our community workshops, making sure that we visited multiple locations across the community in 3 different rounds, right? So North Goodyear, Central Goodyear, South Goodyear, and then got down to Mobile a couple at times at the beginning of the process and at the end of the process. And I hope those residents felt heard, because they had some great feedback that we incorporated into the plan as well. All of that material, as we went through those workshops, in person is great, but residents can't always join us in those evenings. Their time is valuable, and and family life sometimes, obviously takes the priority. So we made sure to put that information online and available in a virtual environment so that residents could review the same material that we presented in person and comment just as they would be live. But one of the things that we learned the most out of this process is our target workshops. Certainly having your traditional workshops where you ask residents to come to you gained attendance from residents. But those target workshops where we went out to residents where they were and engaged with them was by far some of the most impactful in terms of attendance, in terms of input. So attending those special events of some of the imagery you see there were fantastic. But HOA presentations, we have some very strong HOAs within this community. And so joining at their annual meetings or any of their club associations, you can see their image in the bottom at a presentation at Pebble Creek, blew me away when I was told we'll get about 200 people, and I honestly didn't believe it, and it was probably 200 and more. And so that makes us or encourages us as we go through this process to know that we're reaching out to residents and hearing from them. And so you can see some of the other efforts that we utilize, right, to complement some of those key components. So that is a quick synopsis, right, certainly of a long process of taking this plan through the community outreach effort. But let's talk about the plan itself. General Plan 2035, Growing Goodyear, Planning Our Future. And that's really that vision is captured, as you can imagine, in any overarching guiding document in a primary vision statement. And this vision statement was crafted with the help of our General Plan Committee, and we refined it based off of the existing vision that the community has used over the last 10 years and built on that in terms of the feedback that we heard through the outreach effort. And so this vision statement becomes that North Star, right, for this general plan. But as we talked about what goes into that vision statement and what we want to work towards over these next 10 years, we asked the question, what does Goodyear's future look like if this general plan vision is achieved? And through that dialogue and through the input with the committee and residents, we came to these 6 primary fundamental strategies: livable and connected, inclusive and diverse, healthy and sustained, resilient and safe, prosperous and innovative, responsive and accessible. And those fundamental strategies are hopefully capture all of the key items that you feel about Goodyear, but they also became the chapters of the plan. We said if those are going to be our fundamental strategies, let's express them in the plan itself. And so that's what became the organizing structure of the plan. Within each chapter of those primary fundamental strategies, we tried to use a consistent format, right? And we wanted this plan to be user-friendly. And one way to do that is to make it consistent throughout the document so the residents get kind of a cadence as they go through this plan and understand that the start of each chapter talks about the planning considerations with that fundamental strategy. And then we outline a series of goals and policies to help inform decision-making that will roll up to achieving that vision. But not everything in this plan is obviously captured. It's a general plan. So there are moments in time where we have these where to find more, and we want to guide residents to all those fantastic documents that provide further detail on any specific topic. One of those is the Parks and Rec Master Plan that you'll be talking about this evening as well. And so again, trying to make sure that this plan not only touches about guiding our future, but highlighting all the other documents that are utilized to make those decisions and to grow Goodyear in a responsible and successful way. Some of the spotlight areas, we don't want to kind of go through the general plan page by page tonight, so we tried to capture that right in some succinct statements. And these are some spotlight areas that we brought to council in previous work sessions to kind of share what are the the themes that we're hearing from residents about those items that are top of mind with them and that they would like to see in the plan. So you can see kind of that list there that I think touches a lot or broad range of topics, right, across the community, whether it's looking out about our water resources or talking about housing, getting into the quality design of the community, to focusing on the Gila River and open space. So it was great to hear residents understand all of the nuances of the community, and not simply just focus on one topic and ignore others. We heard from every corner on multiple topics, and those all get captured in a total of 31 goals that this plan is organized around, and 230 policies that help to further define what those goals mean. Now, all of that is certainly the context or the verbiage in the document that guides decision making, but we all know the general plan also is synonymous with a series of maps that help guide decision making, and the land use and circulation plan is certainly one of the most critical ones. And so we really look to just refine this map. What we heard from a lot of the community was not asking for drastic changes in terms of how Goodyear was approaching land use categories and the placement of those categories, but we did certainly look at particular parts of the plan. So we enhanced some mobility corridors to provide better opportunities for connectivity. And so we looked at some of those multimodal type of corridors and where they might exist, and understand what's going on in terms of the efforts on updating the transportation master plan and building that into the general plan. Farm focus overlay. We heard from residents about, hey, we understand Goodyear's going to grow, and we understand that we have needs and wants within this community, but we do have a history, and that history is rooted in our farming and agriculture. And so we wanted to identify some areas, especially along the Gila River, in the western part of the city, that have agriculture still occurring today. And noting that those areas that have farming going on should be recognized. And as development comes online, just making sure that we're leaving opportunities for, if any of those farm focus areas want to continue a farming tradition, that they have those abilities and the resources for that. Rural transitional development. This goes back to my comments on Mobile. When we went down and spoke with the residents there, they recognized again the same, that there's plans for a long-term future of this particular area, but they did ask that might be a distance away in terms of when that envisioned development gets to this portion of the community. And so we want to continue our rural lifestyle down here and give us some tools to do that. And so that's what that rural transitional development overlay does. And then last, our open space and wildlife linkages. There's some great natural resources, right, that kind of are our bookends for Goodyear. We have the Estrellas and we have the National Monument. And so there was adjustments to the planning area and the wildlife corridors in the southern portion of the planning area to make sure that connectivity between those two environmental amenities within the community can utilize that wildlife linkage and make sure that they continue to be a value component of the community moving forward. We also looked at growth areas. State statute asks or requires that a general plan look at growth areas. And sometimes communities will hear this and say, well, does this mean we're advocating for growth in an area? And that's actually not the case or the intent that the statute is looking at. It's actually yes, it could be looking at where you anticipate growth, but it's also asking you about where are you experiencing growth? What is getting growth pressure so that you can have proper policies and guidance in place to either support that growth or respond to those pressures. And so we talked with the different departments in the community and residents that live in certain parts of the the city to understand where we're seeing those growth areas and what type of growth happens in there. So you'll see a lot of them in the northern part of the community that experience either conditions to address the Gila River when we're talking about the SR30 corridor and coming through there, or ones up along I-10 that are thinking about economic development. And then, of course, as we go south of the river, looking at the Estrella community and how that is continuing to experience growth. So from that, you're especially going to get some more detail on parks, trails, and open space in your next council item. And so this slide is really to share that we aligned this general plan with the ongoing efforts that the city is doing to look out to how the city recreates, how we are planning not only trails, but our parks and our regional amenities, and making sure that we're cross-pollinating, right, across the plan, and aligning not only the general plan with itself, but with other documents. So again, all of that comes down to implementation. And state statute doesn't require a general plan to get into this topic, but it was great to recognize that the existing general plan does a fantastic job of addressing implementation, and we just carried that baton forward in terms of looking at what was accomplished through the last 10 years and how we might continue to champion that. And so one of the ways we did that is with this matrix, and this matrix is a succinct way where we lined up all of the goals in the general plan across all of the required elements or topics that the general plan must address, and then started to identify how this plan cross-pollinates and make sure that residents and decision makers understand that when we are working towards achieving one of these goals, it's not simply addressing land use. It could address a circulation component, a water resources component, or open space. And so I think it starts to help understand for the community in a visual way how all of this document starts to stitch together. The last items that I'll touch on are actions and metrics. It's great to talk about goals and policies, how we're going to get ourselves there, but these actions are our to-do list. They're the things that we can put on our agenda items of things to work towards that not only should be accomplished or can be accomplished by the city, but we can work with our stakeholders and others in the community to help champion some of these. So this action list is a list to certainly help achieve goals, but it's not intended to be a to-do list that's just for the city. It's to help identify things that might be regionally significant that we want to be monitoring and making sure we have a seat at the table. And then the last part is measurement of progress. Now, this is fantastic and something that's addressed in the current plan, and then we work to refine it. But one of the things that I think is above and beyond than what other communities do in their general plans is identify, okay, we're going to talk about what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some action items of how to get there, but then we're going to look at how can we measure if we're reaching our goals. And that little nuance, I think, is key, that we can look at from a yearly basis some of these metrics to report out how our specific goals are being accomplished. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you and council to ask any questions that you may have. But again, to reiterate, with a favorable recommendation this evening, we'll work towards getting this general plan put on the May 21st, 2024 ballot for final voter ratification. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. City Clerk, please read resolution number 2023-2362 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2023-2362, adopting the City of Goodyear General Plan 2035 and submitting the City of Goodyear General Plan 2035 to the voters of the City of Goodyear pursuant to ARS 9-461.06. and providing for an effective date of this resolution, the City Council's adoption of the City of Goodyear General Plan 2035 and the City of Goodyear General Plan 2035, and the status of Goodyear 2025 General Plan upon the effective date of the City of Goodyear General Plan 2035.
Thank you. Will the city council please enter a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 2023-2362? I see a motion and a second. Open for council discussion. Seeing none, I'd like to thank you and the committee that spent all this time putting it together. I know it's been an arduous endeavor, but a fruitful one. So with that, can we go ahead and open up a vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Will the city clerk please read resolution 2023-2359 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2023-2359, ordering the General Plan 2035 be submitted to the qualified electors of the City of Goodyear with regard to the General Plan 2035, providing notice of a special election on May 21st, 2024, designating the date that voter registration closes, authorizing the city manager or her designee to enter into all agreements to effectuate election services, designating the place and beginning and ending dates to accept arguments for and against the general plan, and ordering the city clerk to publish this call of election.
Thank you. Will the council please enter a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 2023-2359? I've got a motion and a second. Go ahead and open up for discussion. Seeing none, let's go ahead and open up for the vote. Passes 7-0. Thank you. I would like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second for discussion. Our first business item is the Parks and the Recreation Master Plan. Please introduce yourself to the public.
Thank you, Mayor. Nathan Torres, Parks and Recreation Director. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to present the Communities Plan, the 2023 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The key findings of this plan were previously presented to City Council via work session in February of this year. Those key priorities remain intact, and I'll be presenting on those this evening. I'm joined this evening by members of the Parks and Recreation Commission. You could acknowledge they're in their plan t-shirts, branded t-shirts. I'm also joined by our staff, Deputy Director David Seid, as well as our project manager, Diana Vasquez, and lastly, Sean Wozni with Kimley Horn, who was responsible for bringing this plan together for us. So why do we master plan? Simply stated, it provides us the framework for the next 10 years. It ensures that our facilities, our services, and our programs are aligned with community needs. As you may be aware, in 2014 was our last master plan. And this, there were hundreds of action items and goals, and you can see there what we achieved. But this really laid the foundation for delivering the Goodyear Recreation Campus, which we delivered a couple of years ago. And you can see we were successful at achieving 93% of the 2014 master plan. The main point here is that these plans are exercised and used, and that was my commitment to council in 2014, and that's my commitment before you this evening with the current plan. Our approach was multifaceted. You'll hear more about that momentarily, but most importantly, this is not my plan. This is not our staff's plan. This is not Kimley Horn's plan. This is truly the community's plan. This is a little bit of an eye test, but this is the process, very comprehensive and deliberate in our outreach process and delivering to where we are at today, considering final adoption. An 18-month journey to get here tonight. This is basically everything, the foundation for the plan. So we looked at inventory and benchmarking. We looked at our business planning. We met with Goodyear leadership, city council, all of our commissions within the city. We also ensured that we were in concert with the developing general plan, as well as the transportation master plan. So a lot went into it. What I'm most proud of is the community involvement. Again, nearly 23,000 inputs that went into this plan. very broad and in reach from in person. We really worked on taking the plan to where the community was, not relying on them to come to us. So we're very, very proud of that effort. So what did we learn? Basically, we learned that our residents place strong value in their parks and recreation system. So we're very appreciative of that finding. In terms of top priorities, swimming pools and splash pads to trails to sports complex and multi-use fields, the gamut is what we heard. We did hear of the desire for an urban fishing lake. You're not approving a lake this evening. In fact, the plan does recognize that right now a lake probably is not the right climate to have those discussions. So thank you for your previous feedback on that as well. Those trends that we looked at, the consultant went and just cross-referenced and checked off the priorities, looking for that consensus around all these inputs. And that's everything did check out there. We looked at improvements in two areas, existing parks as well as new facilities. And there's something for everyone in this plan. We maintain 20 parks currently, and they are very well maintained. Council has a strong priority in asset replacement, making sure that we have the means to keep our parks in great condition. These improvements here, however, highlight improving these neighborhood parks so that they have better access and can perform much better for the community. In terms of new facilities, priorities are completion of the Goodyear Recreation Campus, the remaining 40 acres there, phase 2, completing the Bullard Wash Trail from McDowell south to the ballpark and eventually to the County Regional Park, completion of Foothills Phase 2 park. There's a remaining 17 acres there. Looking at a sports complex, potentially in the I-10 basins. This plan isn't saying go build it. This plan is saying to study it and look at it. We've already started that effort right now. And then it looks also at future land acquisition. And you can see even with the new facilities, there's good, broad representation for the entire community here for the next 10 years. So the impact. You're not approving projects tonight. You're not approving budget tonight. We will then take this plan and use it as our planning document, and we will work with finance to bring these projects forward within the next 10 years or beyond, depending on budget means and resources available. And so I wanted to be clear tonight, you're not approving projects, you're not approving budget, you're basically adopting our direction for the next 10 years. And with that, I will ask that you consider adopting the 2023 Parks and Recreation Master Plan, because simply stated, parks matter. I knew I would.
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? I see we got a motion and second, but before we go there, can you introduce the members? I guess they were on the committee that you have here in the front row.
I don't have mine. So we have our chair, Ms. Sherilyn Holman,
Okay. Hi, Cheryl.
Benita Beckles, Jerry Wilson, Chad Millett. Let's see here, our chair, John Cox. And
We get everybody? One more.
Jose Gonzalez, I'm sorry,
All right.
vice chair.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for stepping up. Now, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to open it up to speak, and it looks like Councilmember Stipp's up first.
Mayor, I do need to read the resolution into the record first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got a little ahead of that. Go ahead.
Adopt resolution number 2023-2366, adopting the 2023 Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Thank you. We got the motion up there, first and a second. And now open to speak, and Bill, you're up.
Yeah, now that you took my,
Took his line.
took my
away.
line. Just a couple of, I guess, general observations. One is First of all, thank you, everybody, for the great work. I know these master planning efforts are not easy, so that in and of itself. Just kind of some generic things. You know, I don't talk to a lot of people, but when I do, the Bullard Wash Trail is extremely important, and there's a lot of folks that are looking for safe places to either walk or ride their bike or get off of the roadways or something. So I think that's becoming kind of more, perhaps more important than we even gave it some credit for. The other thing, which I hadn't really realized, is I spoke and met with a group of residents from Canyon Trails last week, and they were observing what we have heard for 10 plus years about the middle part of the city being kind of a leftover. Estrella Mountain Ranch is kind of taking care of itself, and they do a lot of, and they pay a lot of money in property tax on CFDs. And Palm Valley got a lot of stuff early on, so Community Park is up in that way, et cetera. And the middle part of the city is kind of, just based on the way things were financed, there wasn't a lot of CFDs and there wasn't a lot of developer money, so we're gonna have to do what we need to do there. But what they pointed out was, which I thought was interesting, and I didn't realize it, was you have to be a member of the GRC to use the splash pad there. You have to go through the gates,
Correct.
pay your fee to use the splash
Correct,
pad.
correct.
But we have splash pads that are free in
At the community park.
the community park, and now we're gonna do it at Loma Linda, and so I think we've gotta maybe find a way to change that, for the folks that are, you know, we need to make some equality, I think, in those situations, and maybe there's not necessarily a simple solution to that, but it was a really important observation, you know, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm speaking only for myself, but Fat, Dumb, and Happy says, oh, everyone loves it. And then I find out not everybody's thrilled with the circumstance there. So I looked through the citizen satisfaction surveys just to see if there was anything to, you know, try to correlate those things. And you know, the community is very happy with parks because parks matter. But so you know, as hard as I tried, Nathan, I couldn't find any holes in the plan here. So I think this is it's really key for us. We've just got a couple of tweaks to make. I think getting the trail up and running faster than later, and looking at how do we make accommodations for the splash pad scenario without, you know, saying, oh, well, here's a wristband and you can only use the splash pad. Whatever you guys will figure out, but those are my observations.
Well, thank you for that, for sure. With regards to the splash pad, we are looking at adding open to the public amenity as part of that phase 2. So then it would be open extended hours, and where the aquatics facility is a limited operation. So there might be an opportunity there. And the other area of the trails, the recent bond will surely support that effort.
I think honestly, we cannot wait for phase 2 for the splash pad situation. The people in the middle part of the city are feeling absolutely left out. And if it's just a matter of figuring out to open another gate from the outside and doing something on the inside that we can do in the short term, I think we owe it to the residents of the central part of the city to give them the same amenity that we have up north, that we have down south, and that we have to the east. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Thank you very much, Nathan. I went over your plan page by page by page by page. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And while you said now's not the time to look for a fishing hole, please, by all means, don't just throw that away because someone said that. Probably someone on council said this is not the time. It may be the time in a couple of years or 3 years, because my grandkids have to go into Litchfield Park to fish. So why can't they fish in Goodyear? Well, Buckeye? Oh, I don't take them to Buckeye, sorry. I didn't know Buckeye had water. But anyway, and back to the splash pad. The splash pad is free at the
At the community park.
community
Goodyear
park, and
Community
it's going to be
yes.
free at Loma Linda.
Correct.
And I guess they think they need one in their neighborhood. And I'm not sure. I'm very familiar with their parks and the layout. I'm not sure we can put one in there without an extensive. I'm just not sure we can do
I
that.
think the challenge for us, we can get creative and come up with some solutions and bring that back before council.
Yeah. And I know that because we are so crowded at the rec center, we built it way too small. We can't even accommodate all of the people from our city that want to go there today. We're always running out of space when we make our reservation to go into the pool area in the summer, because I've been on the list a couple times, and I couldn't get in because it was too full. And that was okay. I was happy about that.
It's a very popular.
It is a
event.
challenge, and it's wonderful that people value our parks and rec, because it is absolutely critical to our quality of life. I raised my children at free parks. We used to barbecue, we'd go swimming because we never had a pool, and it was wonderful. And we have families that look forward to coming to our facilities every weekend with their kids. So thank you for being so forward-thinking, because you're right, this is a 10-year plan. Who knows what it's going to be like in 10 years, but at least you're going to be open to whatever we can make work for our residents, and I just want to thank you for that. And we always want to plan more parks. You never have enough. And we always want to be open to the suggestions from the residents. However, we have to figure out a way to pay for it also. So thank you very much. I think y'all did a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to the next 10 years.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Hammond.
Yes, I want to repeat, thank you so much to the committee for taking the time, the effort away from their families and their jobs to help us build a better plan for the next 10 years for the city. So very important. It's definitely a key part of our strategic plan and part of our goals as a city, really around quality of life, parks to recreate, to provide those services, to provide opportunities for families to enjoy and come together and make our city feel a little bit smaller if we can with some of these amenities that we have. So I am also looking forward to these four A, B, C, and D here. Sports complex looks I'm really excited about that one too. The possibilities for economic development, tourism, things like that as well. But like others have said here, we like it. We also want more and more and more. But so I appreciate it, and thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and thank you for your whole team, and thank you for everybody who served on the committee. Because as I've always said, Parks, you're my favorite department, Parks and Rec, Arts and Culture. You guys are my favorite departments because they're the fun people. And that's really what makes that's like the heartbeat of our city, is everything that you guys do. My first house was in Central Goodyear in Estrella Vista. I used to walk the dog around that park. That's a good park. That's a great park. Maybe there's where the splash pad can be someday. I think it's a great park close to the school and everything. And I've seen so many programs, my kids that grew up with the programs here, and to see how you've added more and more programs for our youth, for our seniors, for our adults to recreate and have activities, places to go, to have picnics, to, just go hang out, and all the activities and everything that we can have in these parks. So I am very excited. I love the idea of the trails, and, I would love to see the bikers on the trails and off of Estrella Parkway. It's just so much safer, and I love the idea of that trail being contiguous, so we can go there. The fishing, don't give up on the fishing, because I know, like in Estrella, it's like recycled water, and there's all these other options, and I know they're talking about the plan down by, the river and the Rio project. So there might be something we can get some fishing going there.
Yeah, there's, thank you for that.
And the rec center, same thing. It's like what we tell the people who build restaurants. We built it too small. I think right after it opened, I told you, I was like, this is just too small, because how many people want to go there? And I think that's says a lot for our city, says a lot for the staff that's there, and says a lot for the amenities there. So
I would have never imagined over 400,000 visitors per year to that rec center. And
Are you
aquatic
serious?
facility.
400,000?
Over 400,000 per year.
I told you,
Wow.
I kept telling you, it's too
Yes.
small.
And the
She
park,
did.
the park is great. The art in the park is great. I mean,
Yeah, it's wonderful.
yeah, if I would have done the bonds, I would have been like, oh, more towards parks, because I would like to see a theater complex. I would like to see more parks, because I really think that those are the gathering spots. And when you have those and you put those around restaurants and stuff like what we're doing here, it's just a great opportunity. I would love to see what is that? They do a first Thursday or something downtown when we get everything
Friday.
built up.
First Friday.
First Friday, thank you.
First Friday.
I would love to see that, and I will come volunteer when I'm done here for you guys, because I just absolutely thank you for all your hard work.
Vice Mayor.
Well, the community support is certainly very strong for parks, as evidenced by their participation in this, as well as their willingness to vote for the bond. And so that is certainly very, very exciting. As someone who has been pretty vocal about the fishing lake in terms of we're in a 25-year drought and we hear about water all the time, I do appreciate the respectful pause on that. So I heard there might be an El Nino this year. Who knows? Maybe our circumstances will change. We've talked a lot about GRC being too small to meet the needs, but do we have a vision for? It's not in the 10-year plan, but we're going to need another facility or to enhance the facility. What's the plan?
Yeah, so right now, there is not another rec center within the 10-year plan. We just couldn't, we wanted to bring forward a responsible plan of trying to make sure that the resources needed was in line with what we could bring forward. So there clearly is a need for another. However, we'll just have to continue to operate our busy facility and enjoy our patrons as they're coming to visit.
Okay, great. And have we considered the parking needs, especially for the Bullard Wash? I know that the parking that was on street on Encanto has been there was a lane that was designated for parking that's been removed, and so where people are using the wash, are there parking facilities for them?
So right now, there's parking next to the library, or in the library parking lot, as well as our parking structure.
Okay.
With the improvements heading south, we look to include a trailhead and some parking area
Okay.
with that trail.
Very good. Well, I also want to join in the chorus of thanking the committee. They've done a great job, and thank you and your staff.
You know, there's not a whole lot to add when you're always last on this deal here, but again, I want to thank the residents for stepping up. That's what makes this a great community, because every time we need something, you guys step up and deliver. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for doing what you did. With that, can we go ahead and open the voting? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Last item on business is fiscal year 2025, 2027 strategic plan. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, Mayor, members of the council, good evening. I'm Jenna Goad, the assistant to the city manager. I think all of the discussion tonight about retiree health care and about the effort that went into the general plan and the parks plan and now our strategic plan really just shows how intentional the city and council is being about planning for our future. So I think this dovetails nicely. I will be brief. I know it's been a long night, and also want to remind council that we did review and go through the focus areas, the guiding principles, and all of the proposed action projects at the council workshop back in October. So my presentation will be a summary of that information that you previously reviewed. Just very briefly, to provide a little bit of history, our current strategic plan was adopted by council in May of 2021. It was a 3-year plan, so it's set to expire at the end of this coming June of 2024. So recognizing that the current plan was going to be ending, the city engaged a consultant Mike Letcher with the Bridge Group, to help us develop a new plan that would be more operational and help us to move forward as the city continues to grow. So council may recall both the council and the staff leadership team completed surveys, and then also each had a workshop to develop the focus areas and the guiding principles and the projects that then ultimately were brought to council at that workshop in October. The new plan will have 5 focus areas: fiscal and resource management, economic vitality, safe and vibrant community, innovative and high-performing organization, and infrastructure. The plan itself, this document that is attached to the agenda, does have a full description of each of those items. These are intended to be the "we will always" statements that describes the way that the city will always do things, or will always strive to be. Below that, then, each of the focus areas has guiding principles, and these are intended to be the "and this is how" follow-up to the "we will always." Both these items, the focus areas and the guiding principles, are intended to be evergreen. They're things that will always be true about the city and about what we're striving for. Those are then complemented by the projects or the action items that implement how we work towards achieving those goals or that vision. So in the plan, specifically, there are 24 action items slated for FY25. And then there's additional actions also outlined for FY26 and FY27. I do think it's important to note those are the dates that those projects are intended to be completed. So work is likely to begin on some of them prior to that year, depending on the scope of the project and the timeline. The strategic plan will be implemented according to the principles that were outlined in the operationalizing the strategic plan document that was reviewed with council again when we had that workshop. And specifically, the plan and the action items themselves will help to develop the city manager's recommended budget and to prioritize staff's time and evaluate potential new projects or opportunities. The City Council will receive quarterly updates on the action items, and the plan itself will be reviewed annually at the council retreat. New items for the following years can be added at that time. So for example, at the next council retreat, approximately a year from now, we would look to add FY28 projects as the FY25 projects are being completed next year. And then any new items that might come up can be evaluated for potentially being added, but we would need to look at how that would balance with everything else that's already in the plan, and rather if something else needs to be reprioritized to move back. With that, Mayor and Council, that concludes my presentation. We would recommend adoption of the strategic plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, will the city clerk please read resolution 2023-2363 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2023-2363, adopting the City of Goodyear fiscal year 2025 to 2027 strategic plan.
Will the council please enter a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 2023-2363? I see a motion and a second. Open for council discussion. Seeing none, go ahead and open the voting. Passes 7-0. Council have any comments? Vicky, you're up.
Okay, I've saved my time, so please don't hurry me. I want to give some thanks tonight to some special people in the audience. We have some officers in the audience tonight, and I'm not going to mention any names for security reasons. But I want to say that when the beginning of my term, I'm almost to the end of my first-year term, and at the beginning of my term, I went to the mayor, and we talked about some things about he wanted to know what I was interested in doing this year. And I said that the most important thing, obviously, was my platform for first responders, because that's what I campaigned on. He was very good to talk about that with me and put me in touch with the chief so that I could be put in touch through Jimmy, through Mercy, Deputy Chief Mercy over here, to put me in touch with some of the right people that would help me figure out options for homeless, drug use, things like this that are going on in Goodyear. So I did. I went out and I did a report, which was submitted not long ago. We were coming to this meeting to talk about some things, additions to the PD tonight, which we're not going to be doing. We're going to be doing that probably after the first of the year sometime. So that is on the agenda for then. But what is important, because I got so much help from the PD, that I give thanks to these officers for everything that they did for me. Thank you, Jimmy, for the help that you provided me with to get the right people to help me. Jeff Mercy, Deputy Chief, also thank you very much. And now I'll keep all my names out of this next part of it. I want to give thanks to the Homeless Outreach Unit, which is, they took me out there on many, many, many occasions and took me out to the washes and showed me what was really going on out there, and it was unbelievable. We had a lot of encampments. In every encampment was drugs. Fentanyl trays, hypodermic needles, the whole thing. And drugs, this is a game. Drugs is a game, and it changes daily. And that's what I was being made aware of. And I have law enforcement in my family, so I'm kind of used to that. But drugs is much more prevalent today than it ever has been before. Fentanyl is a drug that I never knew anything about. In fact, I had to call somebody and ask somebody when I was asked about it when I was campaigning, because I didn't know what it was. And when I found out what it was pretty scary. So I thank them for everything they did and showing me what was really going on with the homeless out there. Through that, I came back to the city. I was able to get the city manager, Lynette, to help me with, I wanted her to have a ride along so she could see what was really going out there too. The pictures tell you everything, but seeing it is believing it. And so she went out there and looked at it, and we talked to the mayor. The mayor, it was important to him that we fix this problem when we keep up on it, on what's going on with the drug issues and the homeless encampments. Through that, we were able to work with the city and get the washes plowed down, and I think you probably have noticed them. They're all plowed down to the dirt, many of them. All the trees are gone, the encampments are gone, the drugs are gone, and hopefully they won't be back. However, it doesn't mean they won't come back someplace else, but we're on it. These officers are on it. I've always said we have some of the best officers out there, fire and police, around, because I've worked in a lot of different states with them. And now I know it for fact, because I have ridden with them, I have worked with them. They have kept me up to date on what's going on. Some of the drug buys and everything else that's going on in the area is amazing. I had no idea this was going on. I'm glad we're on it so that the citizens of Goodyear can understand and know that we are on it. And like I said, things change daily. We were a city that didn't have this, and now we do have it, and we have to deal with that. I want children to be able to ride their bikes in the washes. I want people to be able to walk out there. We're doing studies right now to hopefully maybe do soccer fields or a park in some of these washes where it will not bring back what we had there before that could hurt families and their children. I also want to thank who got involved immediately after the homeless outreach team. I started then dealing with a DEA officer from our own city and the drug team here in Goodyear. We started a drug team, which went out there and started dealing with what I was seeing. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done. I am so in awe of what you do every day and what you go out and take care of for this city, for us, for this city. I am so thankful and grateful for all of you for educating me on what was going on, because I didn't know. I don't even know what some of these drugs are. I was never into that stuff. So educating me to try to keep the children of this city safe, I appreciate that. Thank you for everything you've done. I also want to say that thank you to, I've got to make sure I include everybody here. I'm grateful also not only to the drug team and the homeless outreach, but I'm also grateful to Patrol and everything they do every day to make sure that they go out there and give information back to the people that need it to go out and take care of these situations that I'm referring to. I'm grateful to the drug unit and XIU unit because they're one and the same, if I didn't mention that. They are one and the same as of now. It is my hopes that someday they will be separate so that we don't overwork these people, and we have a separate identity so that we have people that in a growing city, a developing city, that we will be on top of everything going on. I'm also grateful to the detectives out there that are doing what they can for trafficking, which is very important and happening in this city as well. I'm grateful for the sober living homes, the people that are dealing with that, because of the fact if we didn't have them, we could have homeless coming from those as well, because as they get shut down due to illegalities, we have homeless coming from that too, and we don't want that either. So we're on top of that, and we've got somebody working on that. I'm grateful, period, to the Goodyear Police Department. I want to say thank you very much for everyone and everything you've done. I'm grateful, obviously, to the fire department too, but I've been working lately a lot with the police department. Thank you, Mayor, for making sure that I could go out and get this report done successfully, and it was something that I know was important to you to take care of. So on behalf of council and mayor, that was important to me as well, and Wynette, you as well. So I want to say also the one thing I noticed in working with these guys that was really important to me was, and I want to include also the SWAT team. The SWAT team is important also too with what we do here in Goodyear. I want to make sure they're included in that, and they go out and take care of some of this stuff, especially with crime that's going on. So I want to include them in that too. If I left anybody out, I'm sorry, but I do want to include everybody that I can and can remember. I want to say that the loyalty, honesty, and professionalism, the understanding, because I was somebody that was new in this business and didn't know a lot of what was going on, that you all took in educating me so I did know, so I could bring it back to mayor and council, was really overwhelming. I also know that there was comedy and laughter at times, and I cannot lie because sometimes I lose it. And when I lose it, I know that your laughing is at my expense. I'm sure of that, and I'm okay with it because I know that I'm probably stupidly funny when I lose it. But I want to say thank you for always being there, laughing at me when I did laugh, when I wasn't laughing, and keeping me going and not wanting to give up on any of it because it was that important to me. So a great big thanks once again. I just wanted to make sure that you were all given the credit that you deserve for what you have done in the time in 8 months that you have given me of your life to teach me and educate me on what really is going on out there. Thank you.
All right, with that, anything else? We good? All right, city manager.
Very briefly, Saturday, November 11th was our salute to veterans in Goodyear, and we had around 1,100 people in attendance at Civic Square Park. Lots of activity, food trucks, but most importantly, our opportunity to say thank you to the veterans that have served us or those that didn't come home. It's just a thank you.
No, I was there. It was a great turnout. It was a great turnout. All right, next meeting will be November 27th. Now, we're not done. A vote will be held to call an executive session for the following pursuant to ARS 38-431.03, A34, consultation with the city attorney for legal advice, and in order to consider its position and instruct its attorney regarding the public's body's position regarding or contemplated litigation or settlement discussion in order to avoid or resolve litigation related to potential or pending transaction privilege tax matters, and for legal advice related to proposed rulemaking and pending legislation related to the pending transaction privilege tax matter, and pursuant to Arizona 38-431.03 A3-4, consulting with the city attorney for legal advice in order to consider its position and instruct its attorneys regarding the public body's position regarding pending or contemplated litigation or in the settlement discussion in order to avoid or resolve litigation related to pending class action litigation related to PFAS substances. I would like a motion in a second. I see a motion in a second. Can we open up the voting? Seven zero. We'll now adjourn into executive session. Upstairs.